Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Business Spotlight. I'm Scott McMeans with Action Coach. I'm here today with Austen Smith from Liquid Liner, and he's got a really cool story to tell about a very specific business that works in a very specific niche. But the problems and issues that they face are universal to every other business out there. They have a really unique way of doing things from compensation, and they have a really cool product that fits a really interesting niche. So, before we get into all that, I just want to turn the microphone and the camera over to Austin. Introduce yourself. Tell us how you got to be sitting on this podcast with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, my name is Austen Smith. I'm the vice president for Liquid Liner. Um, we are a bathtub and tile refinishing company based out of Twinsburg, Ohio. And our niche, like you mentioned, is multifamily and apartment complex and property management company, bathtub refinishing turnover, essentially. So someone moves out, bathtub in a bad disarray, dirty, dingy, old, beat up, damaged even to a degree. We come in and we use a two-part water-based epoxy that is our own product that we own, that we come in and our service W2 service members come in and do a complete sand prep and reglaze of the bathtubs. And that is our niche in our business. And we do anywhere between 75 and 90 some points bathtubs a week.
That's outstanding. And when we talked about before, you made comment that you're in Akron and the Cleveland area, both, and your niche is specific to multifamily spaces. So apartment complexes or group housing, things of that nature. And what I want people to realize is the product that you have is your own proprietary product, and the technicians that you use are your actual W-2 employees. So
Correct.
walk me through the thought, Austin, on why you selected to go down the W-2 pathway as opposed to a bunch of subcontractors or 1099 employees.
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to be able to, I guess W2, it sounds like comes off worse than it is, but we wanted to be able to control the labor that we're doing, right? We wanted to be able to control the hours, when people work, where people go, and we wanted them to work for us, not for themselves as opposed to the 1099 route. But there's obviously pluses and minuses to both routes, but we decided to go the W2 route because um, the biggest reason is in the bathtub refinishing world, there's a workmanship always at the highest part, right? You're using, chemical solutions. Some companies are using chemical solutions in order to, strip bathtubs, and there's chemical reactions that take place and mixing and spraying, and temperature. There's a lot of variables and things that could go wrong per job when you're in the bathtub refinishing world, and we acknowledge that. And so we wanted to be able to, if someone from our team makes a mistake, we want them to be on our team and not be a 1099 contractor that we have to track down what happened, what'd you do, where'd it go. It allows us to control exactly how our employees are doing their jobs, where they're doing it, when they're doing it, and we can really make sure that we keep quality of work and workmanship at the top, highest level priority. Obviously, we have our issues, same as any company, but that allows us to control it as much as we can.
Now, I like that a lot because I think one of the biggest challenges most technician-driven organizations have is once somebody leaves their front door and they go to a customer site, there's no control or oversight on what the quality of workmanship happens in that customer's location. And if it's a W-2, you have a way to kind of manage it and make sure that the quality is there. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today was what you guys have set up as a compensation package, because I think this does a lot of interesting things for Liquid Liner. One, I want people that are interested in finding a career. they
Right.
may want they may want to follow suit and
Right.
realize it's a good company to work with. But I want other business owners to understand that your model is driven off of the quality of work that you do, the amount of time they spend doing it, and how often some jobs have to be redone. And if you think about that concept, it frames it in such a way that you are empowering your employees to do the right thing because you've trained them to do it correctly. You've given the authority and the autonomy for them to do that job because they know how to do it. They've been trained, but also the autonomy in such a way that if that job has to be refixed or whatever, that employee doesn't get the best of ratings within your internal system because that costs money. And then on the other side, you actually reward your people for being really good at their job. So walk me through that just a little bit so the audience understands what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think as any business you have, you should have 3 to 4, sometimes more, depending on what business you're in. But standard KPI metrics to determine how key performance indexes that show how you're doing as a company, right? And for us in the technician position, we identified that down to 3 that you mentioned, right? Time spent, what we're tracking on the job, and quality of work, aka callbacks or warranty claims or revisits, right? Hey, this is not done properly or installed poorly or issues with it, etc. Right? Excuse me. So we were able to really identify those, break it down into categories of tier 1, 2, and 3, acknowledge where we need to be as a company in order to successfully operate, and then we pulled out 3 individual tiers of that. And the way we operate is when we bring someone on, we train them for a period of 2 full working weeks. We then offer them at our starting rate, and then we introduce to them the tier-based compensation plan, what the tiers are, how the numbers are affected, how they operate and do their job, how it affects those numbers. And then every quarter of the year, Q1, 2, 3, and 4, we take those individuals' numbers on the technician level individually and pull all the data, bucket it into the tier system we have, and you can move from anywhere from entry level to highest level that we have here, paying wise, tier wise, within 3 months of starting, or within 6 months, or within a year. And it incentivizes to do the job at a high level, and it also incentivizes to maintain doing the job at a high level for over a period of time. So essentially, anybody could come in and within 3 months be making the highest possible dollar amount that we offer at the technician position, because it's just an option for them, and we've created that so that way it promotes efficiency and communication and utilizing our CRMs as a company. And if they don't do it, then we know that we weed people out themselves, and it kind of manages itself. So it's a way for us to be able to keep people in, and then we can recognize and see who's doing their job at the highest level, because we do it every 3 months. We pull the numbers, and then those are the people that we put up first for internal promotions and expansion and what so forth, because we've also opened up Columbus and Cincinnati locations this year as well. So
I can understand why you're expanding, because you're doing so well. A couple of things came out of that point of conversation you're making, and I want to make sure that people get a chance to understand this.
Right.
First, this is scalable or offered to every employee, as you said. Somebody that's only been with you for 3 months, they just got out of training. If they're really good, they can be making the most amount of money. And that's really an attitude at Liquid Liner, that we're hiring people with the right attitude, and we'll train them to give them the aptitude so they can go perform this job. Not this job that somebody else may have been done, and that you don't want them to do it that old way. You want them to do it your way.
Right.
And what you've discovered is your way is better than others, because it's your own proprietary solutions, but your system is better. And for whatever reason, let's just say somebody didn't perform very well. After a quarter, during that review period, you get a chance to put them into good, better, best performer. And if somebody's not in the best performer, you pull them out, or at least you pull their data out, and you show them these are the reasons why you didn't make it to better or good or best.
Right.
And here's the training curriculum you need to go back and revisit. So what I love about the system that you guys have here is it's unbelievably accountable, but yet unbelievably open for somebody to perform, as long as they're willing to do the job and do the job the way Liquid Liner wants it done. This is a really cool methodology and a really cool model, because most technician-driven organizations don't see it this way. And I think this is a really good way for people to learn that when you empower your employees and you give them the incentive to do work according to how you want it done, they're willing to go through a brick wall to get those jobs done, right? They're willing to go through that and do that for you. So, those are 2 amazing things that go on. And I like the idea that you come back and you train people when they don't meet their own expectations, let alone yours. Because I would imagine an employee that was listed as good, which is still good, right? They're listed as good,
Right.
but they didn't make it to better or best. I can't imagine they're comfortable saying, yeah, I had a chance to make more or even more money, and I'm fine being right here. They want to learn. So the environment, the culture that you have at Liquid Liner is one that encourages creativity and encourages people to get out of their current state and move forward. And then you have the opportunity for advancement. I didn't want to necessarily say this early, Austin, but I want people to know you were the first technician Liquid Liner ever hired.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right now,
100%.
you fast forward a couple years, and now you're the vice president, kind of making things happen, and it's your input that made this compensation plan do what it's doing. Right, you were part of that process.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think
Um,
that's wonderful.
yeah, and what it does is it promotes the conversation naturally, right? Like whenever we pull the data reports, technicians are they're gonna want to, know how they can get to the better, the best,
Yeah.
categories respectfully, and they want to, it promotes the conversation of how do I get better, how do I get there, and it also puts from the managers on my team, it also puts them in a position that where they have to actively keep training people and be informing people on how to constantly be like, revisit concepts of the job that maybe someone's struggling with. So it forces the internal culture of individual teams or locations to communicate about getting better and
Mhm.
find different ways, or different tools even. It's promoted us changing tools from time to time. It's promoted us, from changing, small things, not large monumental changes, but hey, this might work better. It creates thought-provoking conversations between managers and technicians and install and back office to where it constantly is forcing us to innovate and get better and find ways to get better. So it's really kind of helped out from entry level to manager to back office as well, from even my seat. So we're constantly rotating ideas and such through. Not all of them are be implemented, obviously, but
Hey,
promotes it.
not all ideas are winners, right?
Correct.
So you have to vet those things out. One thing that we kind of brushed over, I want to go back and make sure that people understand it because you made the comment. People have a chance to move up, to be re-educated, get back into the grind as a technician, or they deselect themselves from the process, right? They realize, man, this is just not, I'm not cut out for this. I'm not good enough. I'm not going to make enough money. Or they're not a fit for the culture because they're not willing to innovate and be creative and push their own boundaries. They're happy being whatever they are. And that's fine, but just don't do that at Liquid Liner, do that at
Correct.
another
Yeah.
company because you don't rest on that because you're constantly trying to innovate, which is really cool when you think about I don't want to something as benign as a bathroom remodel, which is not what you do. You refinish
Right.
a bathtub and tile, but you're innovating in such a way that you're almost becoming a CRM driven technology company that has this really cool solution that makes the
Yeah.
job of refinishing easy, right? But the infrastructure and the processes inside is what really drives Liquid Liner to be a forward thinker in the marketplace, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. CRM, data, all of it. That is always the forefront of us. How can we get less manual? Pencil paper. How can we get
Mm-hmm.
more innovative? How can we streamline? Through processes and technology, day-to-day workflows to where they solve themselves and they promote problem-solving things. Right. So that's really the basis of what we do all the time. So yeah.
Well, one of the most important parts of having a really strong, creative, winning team is giving them the ability to take risks, giving them the ability to constantly innovate and or learn something new all the time. And what I like about this is the culture is one that Liquid Liner promotes people wanting to be a part of the culture as opposed to asking or begging people to be hired. I'm assuming, because we didn't really talk about this before, but Austin, I'm assuming you've got people knocking on your door that want to come work for you, as opposed to you having to post a whole lot of um, job postings out there begging people to come work for you.
Yeah, we actually get, I would say, over half of our. It's a lot referral based from people that already work here, from
Yeah.
current technicians or um, a lot of our hires. I'd say 70, 60, 70% of our technician hires are actually referrals from already current team members. So that's where a lot of it comes from, and we are constantly getting applications and calls of people, are you hiring or you're not, back and forth. So yeah,
Yeah.
technician wise, we do not, it feels good. People want to
Yeah.
work here. So, and it
Yeah,
allows us to take the pressure off too, especially in the weird working environment that is the world is now. So,
well, that is one point that I don't know if we're ever going to solve in the remaining minutes of this interview,
right.
right? But what I like about this is the environment is one that you've got people willing to say, I appreciate working here so much. I want you, my friend, my colleague, my cousin, brother, sister, whomever, you should
Right.
come work here too. That is one of the best testimonies any company can have, is the amount of people that have other people want to come work there. And that's a huge thing, really big thing. As we walk through this huge environment that you work in, because I don't know if people necessarily understand exactly what multifamily bathroom tub refinishing is all about,
Right.
but you're in Cleveland, Akron. You said Columbus and Cincinnati.
Yeah. Columbus in July, Cincinnati, mid-October.
That's fantastic. So how is it that you were able to grow in what I would assume is a very competitive landscape? So what is it about the industry that allows you guys to keep growing?
Yeah, I think it's the industry itself is really needing something that's a little bit different, right? And that's how we're a little bit different compared to some other companies. We have W-2s, not 1099s. We utilize technology and scheduling software, and the lack of need for, I need to call this company and schedule a bathtub for November 11th, 2024. Instead, that property manager or person that works at that, maintenance supervisor or so forth, that works at that apartment complex can simply just pull up our website, walk into a vacant unit, say, oh, the bathtub needs done, go to our website, put it in, set a scheduled date, send, done. It's on our system, it's on our CRM, and they know we're coming, they get a confirmation, and it's on to the next. So it really comes from an understanding of where your clients are and what they deal with, right? So understanding that when an apartment moves out, there's, punch out issues or electrical issues or drywall and carpet and paint and all these other vendors that need to go through. Well, how can we make it easy for a company to use us, right? And that's by taking one frustration off their list, by utilizing technology or just simplicity of online scheduling. So that way they know that whenever they schedule with us, it's all online and they don't need to call and try and get a hold of someone, or, oh no, we can't do the 14th. How about the 16th, or back and forth? It's all in and gun. So
Yeah. It's good stuff. I think if you were to look up, there's a great book by an author by the name of Scott McKain, and he wrote it. It's called The Ultimate Customer Experience, right? And what he says is, among other things, you know, making an unbelievable impression. You guys have an incredible product that does an incredible job, and we passed over this, but it provides a 6-year warranty. Am I correct?
yes.
Right. So not only is it a good product, it's unbelievably strong. It lasts very well. So you've got this great impression when you first start, and then you serve with empathy. You connect with the emotions because these people are dealing with, as you said, all these other vendors that need to get in and out of a unit. And then at some point, you make it incredibly easy for them to do business with you. That is the definition of the ultimate customer experience, right? Wow them with what you do, keep them close to you because you're always taking care of them, and just make it easy for them to buy from you. That's the best part about
Right.
it. Make it easy to buy, right?
Right.
And if you can do those things and somehow solve the emotional problems by pulling those things out and serve with empathy, you have this amazing customer experience that people want to keep coming back to you. So with that, why don't you talk to me a little bit about how many different customers you have, different locations, doesn't necessarily matter, but how many people have been working with you, for how long they've been working with you, and the number of times you keep coming back to that same location.
Yeah. I'd say we have, I think, well over across the state. There's a lot, but in Cleveland, Akron alone specifically, say we have well over 100 different active properties that we're currently visiting, not necessarily different companies, but active apartment
Sure.
buildings. But companies itself, probably around the 50 mark of that we're actively servicing once a month, once a quarter at least, because every property needs different or in different stages of,
Yeah.
need in the bathtub world. Some need a bunch done, some need a little bit less. But yeah, actively in, I'd say easily 50 active clients across Cleveland and Akron itself.
That's one, I think that opens somebody's eyes, especially mine, to the idea of how big this market is when we're talking about somebody leaving an apartment and or yeah, leaving an apartment and needing the bathroom to be redone so the next renter is willing to pay the money for it. There's a lot going on in this space that I didn't even know about, so I appreciate you bringing this
Yeah,
to our attention.
absolutely.
What I want to talk about some of the challenges that you guys have faced, and you in particular with Liquid Liner within the market, within the space that you're working. What are some of the biggest challenges that you guys faced as a business, and how did you kind of get over that challenge to now where it would be defined as a success story?
Yeah, I would say the biggest one has been, transparently is rapid growth rate. That is probably the largest challenge that we still face constantly. Of we're constantly pushing the envelope and not really getting satisfied with being where we're at. We constantly want to now we're an Ohio-based company, right? We were just an Akron-based company, then we're a Cleveland, Akron-based company. Now we're Columbus, Cincinnati, Ohio-based company, and so the rapid growth rate. In order to do that, you need to retain great people. You need to hire good people, and
Mhm.
training and constantly elevating themselves, right? Like I'd be sitting here lying to you say that, 2 years ago when I was technician one, if I had the same mentality I did currently sitting here now, so I think honestly, it's biggest challenge is, mentally and emotionally evolving yourself and understanding, being okay with failing, right? When we first started, I can't tell you how many bathtubs I probably did so poorly, in order to learn how to do it the right way and so forth. And, biggest challenge is being okay with being told no, being okay with messing things up and creating that environment around you to where when other people on your team or on my team especially feel the same way, it's a safe environment to fail, right? With like trying something new or getting to the next level or satisfying that client or what it may be, right? And that is a constant challenge, right? That we're always facing, growing, innovating. How do we get to the next level? How do we,
Mhm.
expand into the next market or the next place? And how do we do it more efficiently and quality of life? So that was a
Well,
big one.
okay, what do you mean by quality of life for you?
I'd say, finding pain, like there's pain points in every job you do, right? Whether or not you work anywhere, there's a pain point involved with it, right? Like, are you something that's doesn't quite click the way it should be, and constantly finding those and trying to streamline it or evolutionize it so that way it becomes not a pain point anymore. It's something that's automatic and fixed. Does that make sense?
It
So
does. It does. Because everybody has a different opinion of what quality of life means, right? Is it work-life balance? Is it, how do you live every day, wake up and go to work? It's a great explanation. I just want to make sure we understand what you mean by that. There's,
yeah, I think the not the biggest thing is I say this in meetings all the time is like at the end of the day we work in the bathtub business, and when you boil it down like that, it's stress and all this stuff everybody wears differently, but when you think about it, we're in the business of bathtubs and there's no reason to overcomplicate it or or to overthink it. We're in the business of bathtubs and that's what we do, and just simplify it, gamify it.
no, I appreciate that. Don't overcomplicate it, which is a great philosophical approach. I think earlier on in one of our conversations, you said, your training is a KISS methodology. Is keep it simple,
Right.
stupid training. Is like it's a simple design. Our solution works. Here's how you follow the process to make sure it does work effectively. That's it. There's no need to go crazy with it. What I want to, because you made a really good point about living or working within an environment where it's safe to fail. Where does that come from, Austin? What provides Liquid Liner with that comfort level and that culture that says this is a safe environment to fail? Where's that
Yeah.
come from?
Yeah, I think it comes from the team that we have here. Tyler Dunnigan, our CEO and owner, has drive um, that style for me. That work life for me, and so forth. It transcribes and goes down. Same thing with other members of our team, Thomas Laver and Ashley as well, who are all part of our back office team. And it's a culture thing, I think, 100%, and it's contagious. So.
Mhm.
Um, it starts from top down, and that's how we're able to create that environment for others too, because it was created for us.
Okay, that's a great statement, right? You're able to create it for others because it was created for you. If you didn't embrace the culture that Tyler has, how long do you think you would have lasted at Liquid Liner?
Based on pure attrition, I'd probably say a year, but I don't know. Short answer is, to be honest with you, having an open door, being able to talk frustrations, failures, all those things, and encouragement, that's kind of the best way
Sure.
to go about it for anybody. And especially, understanding, having the emotional awareness to understand too that um, everybody goes through something different, right? So how you navigate that in a work life is, and relate it to what's going on, is the best way to keep, your team in the right line and direction. And obviously keeping it, having your key KPIs and data points. Hey guys, this is what matters, right? These numbers here are what matter. Don't lose sight of the important things. This is how we know if we're doing good as a business, and not letting those things fail or slip for anybody, because at the end of the day, if these numbers start to dip, that's when, it affects the whole entirety of us, right? So keeping
Yeah.
those the main thing. And that's understanding the workarounds and the stresses that involve those, but keeping those points the main thing, I guess, is the best part about it.
I I can't say any different than that. That is a really sound way of setting up a business for success. A good foundation, a communicated vision, and a culture that allows people to thrive on their own merit. You're not begging people to do work, you're showing them how they can do good work and make good money. It's a
Correct.
very different environment, right? I think our earlier conversation, we touched on, what's the mindset of an hourly employee versus somebody that knows if I do good, better, or best work, I get paid three different ways. So, what's my incentive to do anything good? My incentive is to do everything great because if
Right.
I do things great, I get paid well. And then contrast that to the guy who, all right, I make X amount of dollars an hour. I'm going to go hide for 3 hours so nobody knows where I am, but I'm still making the same amount of money. Right.
Right.
So I would assume there's a lot of personalities that just don't like the mentality or the compensation plan, and they've come and gone because they deselected themselves, as we talked about earlier, right?
Correct.
And that's
Yeah.
that's not a bad thing. I think most companies, and this is a good point, I want people to realize it's okay to have somebody deselect because if
Absolutely.
you set a culture, right? If you set a culture and somebody doesn't fit that culture, it's literally an anchor around your boat. Like there's no way your business is going to move forward if you're anchored to something that is dragging you back. There's just no purpose in it. So identify who is on board and willing to do the right things, reward them, pay them, give them opportunities for growth. And those who don't, okay, I wish you well, but you're not well enough to be here.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's not to be heartless. It's just to maintain a standard. I think that's the biggest thing. Right. And to
Mm-hmm.
keep, say it over again, because it's what we say, here all the time, keep the main thing. Right. So that's the biggest way that we're able to manage it, and creating something that is manageable, right? Numbers are manageable, KPIs are manageable, people sometimes are not. And then we try to eliminate the gray area in as much as possible. So that way, you can take the error and the human part out of it in a sense that's, derived towards what your job is and what you have to do. Right. When you manage a large group of people, there's emotions and life and things that are involved in it. And
Yep.
it's already complicated enough. So in order to take out as much of the, purebred emotions out of it and just really have it be data driven and understanding, because it creates boundaries for everybody, because people struggle with those.
It's you hit something on the head there. I really like the thought process of boundaries. If you know the guardrails and where you're allowed to play within the edges, you don't need to do anything more than what right here. This is what we're expected to do. This is what we can do. But if I want to do better, I can and improve myself by jumping up to the next level. So this is the boundary of good, the next boundary of better, the next boundary of best. How do I manage myself within those three tiers? And one of the things, keep the main thing the main thing. You said it, and I like that. But you also said this is a business. And what I think people forget when it comes to running your business, there's nothing personal about a deselection. There's nothing personal about somebody wanting or not wanting to work with you. Granted, you want them to like you want them to be a part of the culture, but it's not personal. This is just business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that
And
was something, being a younger professional myself, struggled with for a long time. Like, you want everybody to like you, right? But you also know what you have to have a standard and what you want to do. And that's something that you need to get calloused on. Absolutely. And it's something that I've 100% experienced over the past few years myself. But I think also too, having good leadership, above you and setting good examples, not even just at this job, but in previous jobs for me too, it takes some of the pain part out of it, but everybody has to learn their own way, so, but yeah,
And what
nothing
I
wrong
like,
with people deselecting themselves or deciding not to want to be a part of what you're doing. There's nothing wrong
and
with
that's
that.
perfectly fine. And what I like about, some of the comments we've made today is when you do have somebody that's on your team and they want to go from good to better, better to best, you allow them and you give them the access to the tools necessary to go from good to better, better to best, because you have that training curriculum, you have that standard that Liquid Liner is known for, and it's nothing personal. Hey, if you want this, come after it, come get it. It's right here. And every quarter, you get a chance to reassess yourself. You can work as hard as you want and learn every day, but every quarter we're going to help you realize or help you get to the next level if that's what you want. It's beautiful. If I know you're a young guy, you've even said it, last couple of years you're young in the professional career, but knowing what you know and the success and experiences you've had with Liquid Liner, what experience or what advice would you give somebody that's starting out in business today?
Yeah. You have to solve for your KPIs, right? I think that's the biggest thing. You have to identify those and you have to shrink it down to like
Mhm.
4 or 5 main ones, and you have to understand and find the way that everything that goes on connects to those, and then you can then streamline and efficientize your entire business, right? So like the big ones, performance or wherever you want to determine, there's a bunch of different ways, but you have to find those. What is it? Time spent? Is it labor? Is it the materials? Is it inventory? Is it speed, efficiency, whatever those are, the things that directly affect your profit at the end of the day, those are the things, the numbers and the positions that are associated with it. You have to find out how they all connect, right? If you're just,
Mhm.
if you do everything, if you're the installer and the person who orders it and the person that manages the team and the person that does everything else, you're only one person. You're never going to be able to grow. So you have to find out what those main numbers are and key points of data are, and find out what affects those, and then go from there and work it backwards and constantly work it backwards and constantly work it backwards over and over again. And then it'll be okay for a while, and then work it backwards again, because it's going to keep growing. So that would be the biggest thing. That was what was the hardest thing for the start of Liquid, was identifying those KPIs and then understanding what affects those. So
That's good. That's really good piece of advice because it all drives towards a systematic approach to the numbers that make or break your business. And you've
right,
identified those, right? How much time do you spend on a job? How often do we have to come back? And what kind of revenue are we getting every time you're out on a job? Are we
right,
wasting our time or are we generating revenue?
right.
And this isn't what I think people need to have a really good understanding of. And it sounds like you, Tyler, and the entire team at Liquid Liner know it's a business. It is a for-profit entity
Correct.
trying to do what it can to serve its clients in the best way possible, with the best experience, the best products, all that, with a relationship that says, we'll come back when you need us. And you
Right.
want them to come back, right? Okay, it's a good mutual exchange. Let's not be shy that this is a for-profit business. Let's not be shy. We're trying to make money and limit expenses. That's really what every business is trying to do. And when you have the opportunity to run a business by every stretch of what I've seen here, when you have a chance to run a business like you guys have at Liquid Liner, I can't imagine the roof is anything that you guys can't bust through. You're going to be an amazing business. Not only start off Akron, Cleveland, now you're Columbus, Cincinnati. Pretty soon you're going to be Pennsylvania. You're going to be Kentucky. I have no idea where you're going next,
Yeah.
but it sounds like you've got opportunity to grow, and this is a huge opportunity. So I want to thank you, one, for being on the program with me today, sharing some amazing lessons and some really good insight into how you've built a very strong juggernaut like business in a space that I would imagine most people didn't even know existed. So this
Yeah.
is cool. This is
Yeah.
really good.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been a really cool and awesome experience, and I'm grateful for who I get to do it with. And it's been cool to get together and connect. Obviously, Scott, it means a lot for you to reach out, and I'm glad, I could share at least a little something or other about what we do here. It is a little niche something that I didn't think that I would definitely be in, if you would have asked me a few years ago, but it kind of created itself, so here we
Well,
are.
you're taking full advantage of it, and I'm assuming Tyler and the rest of the team are very happy you did not deselect yourself from the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, and I want to thank you. Thank you to the team at Liquid Liner, and we will see everybody next time on the Business Spotlight.
Absolutely.